Hello and welcome to the Majestic Chat. And I don't even know what episode this is anymore, but we are at Yule and winter celebrations. So, in this show, we're gonna relax, enjoy, and just talk about all the wonderful celebrations about the winter time. So, before we get started, I would like to introduce my co-host, and I would like to start with Ruby Ruse. Ruby, introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you. Hello, I'm Ruby Ruse. I am a pagan YouTube artist. You can find my channel, Fairy Fortunes, on YouTube. I talk about fairy folklore, modern fairy faith spirituality, and fairy themed events on there. And I'm also on Instagram and on Facebook. So I do hope you'll check me out. And I'm also a professional fortune teller. I have a website, www.fairyfortunes.com. And we also have another professional fortune teller on our panel, and that would be the lovely Laura Gonzalez.
Hello, everybody. Hi. My name is Laura Gonzalez. I am a podcaster. I am a minister. I am a fortune teller. I am a witch for hire. And I also do this because why not? And I love doing it. And today it's going to be one of my favorite shows. And I vote for we stop putting numbers in the shows because at this point we don't even know what
I
number
don't even
is.
know exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's a good thing that we don't even know what the number is anymore. Um, and it's a favorite topic of mine. So I was once again the instigator on talking about winter celebrations and Yule and all the overlaps and New Year's and whatnot. So let's do it.
So I am kind of excited because so for me I don't see Christmas as a day of like celebrating Jesus, but I'm actually fine with people who do. And I think that um if happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all of it. But so for me, it's a celebration of the winter and family and things like that. And I'm excited because normally working massage therapy at a hotel and stuff like that, I have to work every Thanksgiving, every Christmas. But not this year because my hotel is still closed. So I'm excited because I'm going home with Dan for his big Italian soiree and Christmas for them. It begins on the 19th. And officially, they start celebrating on the 19th and it ends on like the 26th. And so I will get there on the 23rd and stay to the 26th. So I'm actually very excited about it. But, um, well, tell me what you guys are doing for fun this holiday season without the ritual, without the ceremony, just the fun part. What are you doing, Ruby, for fun?
Uh, well, um, I live in a split household. My son, I'm not married. My son's dad is very involved in my child's life. And his dad was actually born on the 23rd of December. And because of that, Christmas and his birthday is like it's a whole celebration week for them, kind of like your partner, Chris. So my son is now 15 years old, and we've been divorced his entire life. So I couldn't bear to not have my son be a part of that Christmas week with them. So and of course, I'm not Christian at all. I haven't been since I was very, very young. And so my son and I started celebrating Yule, and then I would send him to his dad's for his dad's birthday, and then Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day. And I love the holiday decorations. I often put up a tree. I love cooking is a big part of my celebration. Usually I like to roast a pig, not a whole pig.
I was about to say, wow, how do you do that?
A little piece of the pig. I do a pork roast generally, and I enjoy baking, so I usually make a pie of some kind. And and whenever my son wakes up we kind of move Yule around. Sometimes we celebrate it on the 21st. But because of the nature of my job, my paycheck job, this year the 21st is on the weekend right before the Christmas holiday. So I really can't take that time off right now. So, I just move it to whatever's convenient for us. And, it's for me, it's a celebration of my son is the most important person in my life. It's a celebration of love. It's a celebration of gratitude.
Oh, that's nice.
And I also spend a lot of time like reflecting on the year, because for me, December is really the final, the whole month. It's like winding down to New Year's Eve. And so I do spend a lot of time reflecting on that. So it's like, one of our traditions is that we say often, I ask my son what he liked best, like what was his favorite thing that he did during the year. And we try to focus on like things that we did that made us joyful and happy, and maybe things that we want to improve upon in the next year, and those kinds of things. So that's kind of how we celebrate.
That's awesome.
What do you? Yeah, you're very. You said that you love this time of year. So what?
I love it. I love it. Well, I grew up in Mexico, being Catholic, and you know how the Catholicism that came to Mexico by the colonizers was already infused with a lot of pagan European practices of winter. Well, we did have in Mexico a lot of traditional celebrations for winter, originally from the Mexica people. And that's why, unfortunately, colonizing the country that is now Mexico, it was so easy, because the spirituality, the philosophy was very similar, because it's all about the earth and the sun and the solstice and all of that. So that said, I grew up in a Catholic home, again, Mexican Catholic, which is basically pagan. And we also have a long time celebration, like the Italians do, like the Europeans do. So we do the posadas, and we break piñatas, and we do the pilgrimage, and it is wonderful. Some people don't know that we break piñatas in winter. I came to the States to see people breaking piñatas like in the summer, and I'm like, why
And
are
their
you breaking a
birthdays.
piñata?
It's usually a birthday or something.
Yeah. And I'm like, what is this? Like, no, we break them in winter. I mean, now, when I was growing up as a child, there was no piñatas other than in winter for the posadas, for the pilgrimage, which is a daily thing. It starts yesterday, so it starts the 16th, and then it goes all the way to the 24th. And then we actually celebrate Christmas Eve. So traditionally, my family in Mexico, we would have dinner, and we will open the presents, and then we'll go to sleep and wait for Santa Claus. So you want to hear something funny? It's in Mexico, or at least when I was growing up, Santa Claus is the bored one. Santa Claus brings you clothes, shoes. Santa Claus brings you school supplies, and the things that you need. That's what Santa Claus brings you. But then wait for the Epiphany night, the three wise men, January 6th. That's when you get toys, because the three wise men bring you toys. So it's beautiful. And then on January 7th, all the children are celebrating, and they have their toys, and it's just wonderful. And you have to go to school, but 9 out of 10 kids go to school with the brand new toys, and it's a day of school that is basically,
A free day, a fun day.
a fun day. So moving to the States 22 years ago, my goodness, I think at the first 15 years I was depressed because people here celebrate on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve is like nothing. And I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Like, this is supposed to be celebrated on Christmas Eve. So, like Ruby, I have made my own little traditions and I've been celebrating the summer solstice. I love to celebrate summer solstice. I usually get my family candles to my grandchild and my stepdaughter and the old wife, my husband's old wife. We usually celebrate with family,
Mhm.
and obviously this year is going to be different. So I'm fortunate because my husband is actually going to be off on Christmas Eve, so we might have a little rum and coke and something, you know. And we became vegan this year, both of us. I started with the vegan stuff, and he's just followed through, and he's happy as a clam. And so we might experiment again. We did a experiment with some food on Thanksgiving, you know, like to make up for the Christmas, the New Year's food, and it turned out very very good. So I'm really looking forward to see what else we can create. Uh, but I love the reflection. I love the calmness. I love the stillness, and you know, to be inside. I'm a homebody. I always have been. Um, Despite the pandemic, I've always been a homebody, and I really like the dark side of the year. My favorite holidays are, you know, like Halloween and I mean Samhain, of course, and Yule and Imbolc. Um, Maven, starting on Maven, I really like them. So, and then the magic on the New Year and all the traditions, all the stuff that people do on the New Year in Mexico is ridiculous. It's beautiful. It's fantastic. You know, but I go that when we talk about New Year.
Oh my God, that sounds like so much of fun. I'm over here excited, like I can't wait. Well, let's talk about Yule first. Like, but it's interesting because back in the day in the 90s when I first became pagan and whatever, I just assumed that the Sabbats were these ancient days that all pagans honored, and it's not true at all. If you put all the pagan days, there's probably like 4,000 of them because all the different days and some overlap and some don't. But I learned this recently. You know how we get Yule from the Germanic pagans and Northern Europeans and things, but because they were a lunar culture, which makes sense, they everything was done by the moon, and so what they would do is celebrate Yule by the first full moon of January. And so sometimes Yule was January 3rd, other times it was January 30th, and depending upon where the full moon is. Um, so I thought that was really fascinating. And there's this argument that, oh, if you want to be traditional, whatever that means, if you want to be traditional, you're supposed to honor Yule in January. And I was thinking I really think there's something very magical and sacred and divine about the darkest night of the year. And I understand the ancient heathens, I mean, how would they know? Because it all runs together, But I like that aspect of the dark time. And one of the things that makes me happy, and I talk about it all the time, with a lot of pagans now, they talk about, oh, it's the return of the light. Well, that's true, but to the naked eye, well, we don't see it until January, right?
Yeah.
At bare minimum, sometimes not until February, especially here in Chicago.
Yep.
But I like this whole thing about honoring the dark and what that means, and honoring, and from wherever you want to take it, it can be honoring the shadow self of the consciousness, honoring just the winter spirits. I like to honor like the spirits of the cold wind, the sleeping trees, the snow. I like those spirits and things, but or and also the ghost stories. Yule was a time of, it was basically heathen Samhain. So because they didn't honor the four great Sabbats of Samhain, Lunasa, and so forth, um, they basically had a festival of the dead at Yule. Ironically, which I think is so weird, well, it makes sense since they also honored the fertility god Freyr on Yule. And now that I think about it, they would roast a pig in his honor. But it makes sense. It's like, hey, Frere, I know you're going away. Please come back. Here's a pig. Here's a pig. So tell me about how you guys spiritually do you. I know we belong to different traditions. We do things with our circles. We do things privately. And just tell me about the spirituality of it for you guys.
Well, for me, I mentioned that I like to spend the month of December and Yule, especially like reflecting on the year. There's gonna be a lot of that this year, but and for me, I tend to get, I'm not exactly, happy is not my default setting. So especially in the wintertime, I really kind of I fall into that darkness of the wintertime. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I feel like I'm going with the flow of the season, that there is, it's the right time to do that reflection, to hold space for that sadness for me. I am Scandinavian, so maybe that's a nod to my heathen ancestors. I don't know. So for me, I find that I do a lot of spells that are a lot about dealing with that sadness, about processing those dark moments and the shadows of that year that I've been living through. So I find that I regularly do spell work and have rituals that are based in shadow work and working with that sadness and really sitting with it and trying to process it and learn from it, because I believe that sadness is not something to be repelled. It's our great teacher. Sadness is what teaches us compassion, because compassion is not an emotion, it's a skill that we learn. And the only way that we can do that is through grief and sadness, which are the emotions that teach us compassion. And so I've been doing that. I kind of been doing it, I think, instinctively my whole life. And last year, I actually did a piece on my YouTube channel about Yule. And the wild hunt, the idea that Odin and his sons and the god Freyr is also invited on this great hunt that is dangerous and scary, and they rush across the land, but also the fairies also have their own wild hunt that is said to happen during the darkness of the shortest day and the longest night. And in Celtic mythology, they have a host of beings called the Sluagh. And so you want to leave a sacrifice for them, because if you are delving too far into the shadow, if you are going too far into grief and into sadness, then the Sluagh will take you in their wild hunt. And so the idea is to leave them another sacrifice in place of yourself.
I like it.
Yeah, so I have that video on my YouTube channel. So I'll put it on the Mystic Chat, I guess. And
Yeah, do it.
so so I spend a lot of time processing that grief and leaving, I guess, leaving the sacrifice for the Slua, the fairies. So what about you, Laura?
Oh my goodness, where to begin? So I started practicing. I called myself pagan since I was 16, so 30 years ago. But I didn't practice being a pagan until 12 years ago. And then I started, of course, learning the first things you learn, like the Sabbats and the Esbats and this and that. And yeah, I learned that the name is Yule, and then I learned where it comes from and all that. But some things just haven't clicked. I'm an American. I'm from the Americas, or America as we call it, one big continent. And for us, it's all about the solstice, and it's always been about the solstice. And again, because of this holidays being so permeated by the Catholicism that the colonizers brought, that it was permeated with paganism. And then the Mexica traditions that are still alive, they're just called something different, but they come from those times, And I'm sure everybody and their cousin, if you are around Mexicans, you know about the Virgin of Guadalupe. And the Virgin of Guadalupe being the Tonatzin, the Great Mother, and her holiday, her sacred day of worship being on December 12th. And that basically kicks off the winter celebration. We do have harsh winters for Mexico, but they're nothing compared with the harsh winters of the northern lands and all of that. So it's a different color. And Coatlicue, who is the mother of Huitzilopochtli, Coatlicue, the Great Mother, is the Mother Earth. And it is believed that the revere and the worship of Guadalupe, for a lot of us, I mean, we say it, it's Tonatzin, it's Coatlicue, is the Great Mother. I like how in the nativity, we observe the mother, because all of the other nativity celebrations on the world, whom are Christian, Catholic, or otherwise, speaking about the solstice, it's always about the child and about the child that has been born, and whether you see the sun as the sun or the sun as the sun, the child or the celestial body, it has a mother. And a lot of other traditions have forgotten to speak about the mother. And so to me, it's important to remember that Coatlicue, Tonatzin, Guadalupe, I have gone so far into being able to see Coatlicue on Guadalupe because it's believed that it was used as a weapon to colonize and to convert people. But the joke was on them because it's still Coatlicue. So a lot of pagans from Latin America, frown upon that. They say, oh, you're a pagan, you shouldn't be worshiping a Catholic deity. But it's not Catholic. It's a Mexica, it's just dressed differently. So that said, I love back before the Catholics, Coatlicue and Huitzilopochtli, the celestial body being born. So for me, it's about the celestial body's movement, the soul, the solstice, the change of the season. And I can only imagine those people that didn't have the knowledge that we have now, who spent dozens or maybe hundreds of years observing the sun rising and not moving, and moving after the third day, and giving a sigh of relief, like, oh, okay, we're good, it's moving again. To me, that is so powerful, that our ancestors took the time to observe the earth and nature. And I wish that I wish that my being in awe is as they were, but knowing what we know now, but still being able to amaze ourselves that these things happen because of the solar system and how it moves, and how perfect it is. So that's the sacredness for me. So, I choose to, yeah, if I am on events and if I am with other pagans, yeah, oh yeah, happy Yule, happy Yule. But for me, it's happy solstice. To me, it's about um, the soul invictus, the soul returning, and the mother, the great mother, because all the holidays revolve around the mother. And also how the earth goes to slumber. And I have to I was thinking, Ruby, about how you've shared the history of the birth of your son, and how difficult it was, right, for you. And thank you, God, is your life and everything is okay. But what happens after a birth, and how the mother should ideally be still and care for. And that is what's happening with the earth. She's given birth to the sun, but she's not producing like she will on spring. She's still, so I like to observe the feminine aspect of it. And so I sit on reflection and I light candles and I celebrate the hope, because I like to pretend like the ancestors and hold my breath until the third day in the sun, when the sun finally, moves out of that. So it's all about the solstice and this big old reflection, and also how our ancestors, whether they were pagan from Europe or Native American or whatever, is the common thread, is the soul return, is hope, and is coming out of that darkness that, as you said, Ruby, is there's nothing wrong with it. It's natural. So, coming out of that darkness naturally and celebrating that the sun will come back.
So I really like the whole dynamic of, or should say the polarity of, you're in the darkest time and it's cold. And in Chicago, it's like clockwork. It's about 30, 35, sometimes 40. New Year's Day, January 1st, zero. Like the day. It happens every year. Like it's crazy.
It's true.
But it is true. It's like New Year's Day. It gets freezing cold. But I do like the aspect of, we're in the dark time of the year, and we're in the thick of it. We are in the thick of it. Cold, winter, gross, but then we have this idea of the sun's returning. I like that weird dynamic, that weird, like, oh, it's getting brighter, but it's getting colder. I don't get, like, I remember thinking, okay, that makes no sense. Don't you think? I'm sure a weather person can explain it, but if the sun is getting brighter and the days longer, shouldn't it be getting warmer? No, not till April here. So, but I do like that. I think it's interesting. I like that history, because for me, it's like, challenge your subconscious and go into the shadow, the dark, face your dark self, whatever that means. But at the same time, we do have this hope of healing and stuff like that. What do you think, Ruby? I can see that you have thoughts. I see the hamster wheel turning.
Well, yeah, I guess I hadn't really thought of it when you said that it's this great, it's a mystery, and I'm like, there it is. It's like, we haven't figured out everything, there is no scientific explanation for that. That's still one of the great mysteries of the world right there, is that the sun is brighter and our days are getting longer, and yet our world is actually colder in that time. And isn't that magic right there? Like, isn't that one of our great mysteries and immensity that we still haven't figured out? And maybe we never should, because it's something magical that's still in our modern world.
Mhm. Um, so that being said, and we're going into the more cold. Like I'm getting cold thinking about it. I'm like, I'm in my house and it's all nice and toasty, but I'm getting cold just thinking about it. Um, New Year's. I know Flora wants to talk about this so bad I can feel it. Um, New Year's is the only holiday I don't do any magic except wherever I am, if I'm home or if I come home from an event or a gathering, I will open up the front door, the back door, and at least a window in every room, at least one, and I'll purify and sweep. I'll take my broom and sweep up the old year, then run like hell, and I'll close the window because it's cold. But that's the only magic that I do. The reason why is because me being a pagan priest, an author, a teacher, a leader of a tradcraft circle, that's the one holiday I give myself the day off. I don't do any magic except that because even Thanksgiving, being working with the Lakota spirituality, um, for me and a lot of Native people, we don't celebrate the pilgrims. They're the oppressors. So we celebrated Day of Gratitude, a day of the we give thanks to Tonkashila, who is like the Holy Spirit. That's our version of the Holy Spirit, and we give thanks, and sometimes we'll drum. We'll, share things and giving with our friends, absolutely, but we don't have that whole mythology about. No, that's gross. But anyway, and so I still do magic. So I'm just like, I want to go out. I want to have a drink. I want to chill. And the only magic I'll do is I'll do a purification as soon as I get home of the house. Because if I forget, there have been some years I crawled in the house at 4 a.m, slept till 10 o'clock, and I woke up with this heavy old year feeling like, oh no, purify, sage, everything. I'll do that. Lord, tell us about it.
Oh my God, how much time do we have? So first of all, I was just throwing my hands in the air because you're like, I don't do anything. I just cleanse my whole house. Yeah, okay, good thing you gave yourself a day off. You cleanse your whole house. So I do a lot of stuff, of course, and I love New Year's. Love it. I think Samhain will always be my first Day of the Dead, but I think second best is New Year. And I love to have pagans frowning upon my words, so I'm gonna say them. Yes, I celebrate the New Year's because to me it's a new year. I know the New Year is Samhain. I don't care. Get mad all you want.
I
I
agree with you,
celebrate.
Laura.
I celebrate both. So here's the deal. I do what you do in New Year's on Samhain. So I cleanse my house on Samhain because, like you, multi business moving, doing this and that. There's a lot of energy coming in and out. Well, not this year, but usually I see my clients here. So, there's a lot of energy and people coming in and out. And then ourselves, of course. So I will do the cleansing on the witch's New Year, which Samhain. And then I will celebrate my, Day of the Dead and all that. But in the calendar New Year, I love to do everything. I stay up all night and welcome the year, and I soak the sun rays of the first sun rays of the first of the year. I must definitely make sure that there's no dirty laundry, no dirty dishes, that the house is clean. I finally, thank you guys, have found a cleaning lady that comes and helps me, and she's wonderful, and she's my best ally, and she's gonna come on the 31st and help me clean this house. So it will be clean. So I don't cleanse the house, but I clean. So I like it to be clean, like physically, no
Yeah.
dirty clothes, no laundry, no nothing. And and then there is the magic. So my magic that I do, and you all know I'm a witch for hire, so I sell stuff. And the most important part for me is the candles. I do my candles between the new moon, the last new moon of December. I do candles. So those are my candles that I dress, ritualize, put Reiki, and they do all good stuff to them. And then those are the ones that I light every month. When you see me say it's first of the month, light your first of the month candle. Those are the ones that I'm lighting every month. So I fix them after the new moon. So sometimes, like this time, the new moon was Monday, so there I was doing candles at night. Sometimes it's closer to Yule, sometimes it's closer to the end of the year. It doesn't matter. I just make sure I do them on or after the new moon of December. And this came about from a tradition that my mom used to do. My mom used to light 12 candles at midnight on New Year's.
Hmm.
I move it for me to the new moon because to me, new moon is for manifesting things, to work into the things. So that's why I move it to the new moon before the new year. But then there is all of the other stuff, and oh my goodness, it never ends. And my mom was so big on it, so of course I took on all of it. One year we break all the plates. I mean, before we have dinner on like the nice china, but then we broke all of the old plates. And it was so much fun. We was just flinging plates all over the house, and they were breaking and they were hitting the walls, and it was just fantastic. So that's one of the traditions that people do. Obviously, you carry your luggage and go around the house or around the block, or at least go out the threshold with your luggage and then
What is
come
that
back.
one for? The luggage to travel? Like,
To
what's it for?
travel, to travel, so you can so you can get out of your subdivision. So you can travel, and especially if you want to travel far, then carry your big luggage and go, at least go around the block or something.
Okay, we need
uh
to make sure that everyone does that this year.
Please, yes, socially distance, but
We
do it.
can get rid of the plague and start traveling again. That'd be great.
It will be awesome. Yeah, so we do the so breaking the plates to very literally out with the old, in with the new. The luggage for traveling, the underwear. So you wear at midnight on top of your clothes that you're wearing. You put on new underwear,
On
and
top of your clothes?
on top of your clothes, you just put on the new chonies.
What?
And they have to be color coordinated depending on what you want. So if you want a lover, you're gonna put on red. If you want money, you're gonna put on green. If you wanna, finish your degree, you're gonna put on yellow. If you want peace at home, you're gonna put on wine. Nobody puts on wine. Everybody puts on red. Um, and those are obviously for, like, what do you want your underwear to be? Kind of like
What if
business.
it's black? What are you wearing black underwear?
I think black is also for like sexy stuff. You know.
I
I can
just see all
imagine.
these people with all their like bras and panties and underwear and boxers like over their jeans. Like, oh, it's so funny.
Yes,
Think about it.
yes, and you do it just like that, and everything has to be done like as the strike of midnight. So it's ridiculous because we're doing all these
That's
things.
kind of fun.
Oh my God, it's so much fun. But then the grapes.
Okay. What's with the grapes?
The grapes is you supposed to eat 12 grapes at midnight as the bells are ringing. You're supposed to like swallow all 12 grapes. uh some people are not doing the grapes anymore. Some people are just pouring a tiny little sip of wine or sangria or champagne or some bubbly something and take 12 sips, because people really are like choking with the grapes. But because grapes are abundance, and
Okay.
kind of like this fancy feast type of thing. So if you go to, in Chicago, if you go to like Pete's Market or Certified Produce or something like that, right now when you enter the store, the first thing they're going to put in front of you is about a mountain of grapes, you know, and buy seedless for the love of God, so you don't have people choking on the seeds.
Oh,
And you're supposed to eat your grapes. There's also this tradition that they say whatever you do first at the first minute of the year is what you're going to continue doing. So those who have a spouse or a lover, you know, they try to get busy real quickly so they can continue being busy the whole year. Oh my God, he's cracking up. I hope people could see you. But also, you know, some people will bring out cash and they will like pass it around, and then
okay, for a second, I thought you said brought out cats. I'm like, okay, what do you do with the cat?
cash. So you put up, you know, like put money on your wallet and then pass it to each other, and then like, you know, like pretend that we're like sharing the wealth with each other. And at the end of the day, of course, the person that brought out the couch is like, give me my money back.
My money.
But there is so many traditions. So again, with the disclaimer that I said at the beginning of my rant, with pagans who get mad because this is not the new year. Think about it this way. This is the one time of the year. This is the one time of the year that atheists, Catholics, Christians, Jews, Muslims, etc., pagans, we're all doing something
The same
together.
thing. Yeah.
And if that is not the biggest wave of energy that you can ride to do magic for yourself, then you're an idiot. I said it.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think it's a magical day because so many people, even those who don't think they're practicing magic, are practicing magic. Because isn't that to some extent what a New Year's resolution is? It's a magical spell. So
Exactly.
I think it is magical day. And I'm of the mindset, see, we're in the same camp, Laura, because I actually don't celebrate many of the traditional pagan holidays. I mean, I do, if somebody invites me to something, I go and I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for a good ritual and a good party anytime, you know, anytime. But for myself, I don't really celebrate the holidays, the pagan holidays, because they don't have any meaning for me. You know, I am a 22nd century woman. I have a job, I have a child. I work about 50 hours a week. Then I come home and do videos and podcasts and writings, oh my. So I don't live in an agricultural world, which is where those holidays kind of come from, because the cross quarter days, the solstices, those were all very important because they are events that happen in the sky that our ancestors, whether or not they celebrated it, like Chris was saying, is that maybe Yule wasn't celebrated on the shortest night. I mean, the longest night, maybe it was celebrated on the full moon because they could actually see the full moon rather than calculating the longest night. But the point is that these are things that actually happen, that they can be seen and felt by humanity. And they were important in our agricultural societies. But we're not agricultural anymore. And the shortest day doesn't have any meaning if you're working 12-hour shifts and you don't even see the light of the day or the light from the moon. So I feel like sometimes we have to create our own holidays that have meaning for us. So for me, Thanksgiving has always been a very important holiday in my family. Not so much that and I don't feel very many Americans anymore subscribe to the myth of the pilgrims because we have educated ourselves and we know so much more now, but there still is that need to gather and celebrate gratitude and Thanksgiving.
Yep.
and being appreciative of where we've been and where we want to go to. So Thanksgiving, especially in America, and Canada has their own version of Thanksgiving. The United Kingdom has their own version of Thanksgiving, because these are our holidays that are important in the modern age.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
I think having this day, this calendar day where everybody's like, yep, it's the new year, let's go. I think there's nothing wrong with creating ritual and celebrating and having magic on a modern holiday like New Year's Eve.
Yeah. And I agree, you know, Marty Couch, my dear loving, very first ever pagan teacher, he used to say, you know, the ancient pagans did this and that because, you know, they wanted their crops to grow. In modern day, if I dance on the summer and I don't have anything on my garden, I could go to Jewel and get a lettuce, you know. I mean, it is, we are 21st century people, or 22nd, as you said. But the metaphors are beautiful. I love the metaphoric implications of the Wheel of the Year. And I love, the one thing that I love more than anything about being a pagan, a Wiccan particularly, is the opportunity to reinvent yourself with the metaphors every 40 or so days. But the way that holidays are is like the snake that bites its own head, or I know I always say it wrong, the Ouroboros, because Thanksgiving is more meaningful for more people as a giving thanks holiday, as a Fortuna holiday. Of course, I celebrate Thanksgiving like nobody else because I am a devotee of Fortuna. Um, but it's also, you know, the gratitude to the land. And that was the time of the bounty of harvest. And this one is, you know, we know, praise the goddess, we're going to survive the winter, you know, but the fact that we're doing something together, and as you were saying, you know, the New Year's resolutions, by the way, when you eat the grapes, you're supposed to be doing your New Year's resolutions. And since you brought up the Thanksgiving, Ruby, and you have this custom with your family to reflect and give thanks on the day, and we are so close to close tonight's show, I want to do two things, guys. I want to first of all say our heart, our love, our compassion, and our condolences to those who we've lost on 2020. There are very, very many that are not going to be with us crossing that threshold into 2021. And to them, I salute you, and I wish that your soul and your spirits is soaring so high that you have found peace wherever it is that you are. That's my humble salute to them. With that being said, what are you all grateful, thankful? There has to be something that 2020 left you that is good or not so good. Would you like to share? I love that tradition. So Ruby and Chris, I would like to hear that.
Ruby, you go first.
I would have to say that 2020 has been a very emotional year for me. I lost so much, and I bared witness to so much suffering due to the nature of my occupation. And the one thing that I took away from that I want to keep, that I want to remember for the rest of my life, is I felt like I developed so much patience during 2020, because people were so sad and so angry and experiencing so much grief. And grief can take on so many different forms, and it often manifests in anger and violence. And I learned how to hold space for that anger and provide a space for people to feel safe in expressing that and having their grief. And I'm very, very grateful that I was taught the lesson of patience and very epic proportions. And it's something that I never want to forget. And being able to remember, you know, that when I'm frustrated is taking a breath and taking a moment and saying, I may be frustrated with this person, but I can't even imagine what got them to this place, how they got here. That must have been a journey. And I can hold on to my frustration and I can let them be who they are.
Mm.
So I hope I always remember that. That's something that I want to take with me for all time from 2020. What about you, Chris?
Well, I mean, there's a whole lot of material things to, you know, be thankful for. I will say, um, for a bunch of us, there was a bunch of creativity. We started the show. We wrote articles and books, and we um, uh, created more YouTube content. You know, one of the things a few things I'm grateful for. Absolutely, my health and my sanity, as much as you can say sanity. But I'm grateful for all the learning opportunities, because one of the things I learned, and a lot of the guests on the show this year, you know, we had some very good people who are helping educate. You know, um, when the riots happened in Chicago, I, you know, I went deeper in my education about how to be a better ally. You know, um, just I'm grateful for a lot of the learning opportunities we have, for not just with like between uh, uh, COVID and George Floyd and vaccines and Biden winning the election, but the idea to expand our minds, to expand our hearts. I have to agree with you. It did teach us patience, but at the same time, I can remember being upset about the situation a lot. I mean, not like crying upset, but upset like, oh, so and so who's in office right now, I didn't want to say his name, is doing a bad job and just being angry about it. So I understand about the patience aspect. Um, but you know, I'm grateful for these connections, like my connection with you guys, my connection with my circle, my connection with my partner, connection with my ancestors and my gods, like all those things, you know, all combined. What about you, Laura? What are you grateful for?
First and foremost, I am grateful to be alive.
Yes.
I am very thankful that I am alive. And what this pandemic taught me, and the political environment and the protests and this and that, all the extremely unique situations that we had in 2020, I have learned the art of prioritizing. I prioritize my relationships, my activities, where my time is put on, where my energy is put on. And I had let go of so many things, material. It's just, I can really truly tell you there's a life before COVID and after COVID for me. And hanging on things and waiting for the perfect time to use them, or the perfect people or the perfect occasion, that's out the window for me. I will never, I hope, like Ruby, I hope that I never go back to my old ways to, oh yeah, let me wait and don't use this until whatever. No, is you have it, you're gonna use it now, or don't even get it, because to store it is, life could be gone in but a second. So that is the biggest lesson for me. And it feels good. It feels good to live in the moment and to say, I want to share from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock with Ruby and Chris Allen on Thursday evening on December 17th, because consciously that's what I want to do and where I want to be and with the people with whom I want to be talking. No more letting whatever ulterior motives sway me away from what I want to do, who I want to do it with, and why am I doing it. That is the gem. That is the best gift that I got from 2020. And obviously, my huge ego, I had to say it. I accomplished some things that are amazing. I became a Reiki master teacher and I became ordained minister in Circle Sanctuary. And I'm sorry, but it just happened to be 2020. So, I'm very happy that that happened. And I am going to be tooting my own tune and celebrating because it's awesome. And again, like prioritizing and giving value to those who are there sharing this time with you.
I think you said it perfectly, giving things value. So everything that Ruby said, everything that you said, the things I said about finding the value in things, I think that's important. Well, our hour is up, and this will be the last show of 2020. So join us for season 2 in 2021. I'm excited. We will have more guest speakers. We're going to hang out with you. We're going to do all kinds of fun things. I don't know what's going to happen. We will figure it out. But if you haven't already, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, Spotify, or all the other podcast options, tell your friends, share us, and all those things. I wish you guys a wonderful Yule holiday season, New Year's. Oh, and don't forget January the 6th is the day of La Befana, who is the Christmas Italian witch. I always want to share this one thing before we go. La Befana told the wise men where to go. That's true. That's the mythology. And of course, because a woman knew the directions because the men were lost.
I love it.
That's great.
But with that, thank you. And did you guys want to say anything before we go real quick?
Oh, just happy Yule. I just, as much as I have learned from 2020, I'm looking forward to Yule. I'm looking forward to the end of this year. One of the things that my goddess Persephone taught me when I first came to know her was that in order for something new to be born, something old has to die. And it's time. It's time for 2020 to end. And I'm looking forward to sharing 2021 with you, whatever that will be.
I want to echo what Amy said, what Ruby said, with my hat for FU 2020. Kick it out. Get the heck out of here. No, in all seriousness, I want to wish everybody love, compassion, peace. If you're having a hard time this winter season, know that you are loved and that you're not alone, that we're all with you. And may the new year bring us something different, please, for the love of the goddess. And happy solstice to everybody. And never forget that you are loved.